intervals?
I cannot account for them. We suspect that somehow that the meteorite is just a simple...
Yes, sis. Hold on, let me come out and take the football, my yes, sis, man. How do you then account for those gas eruptions occurring on the surface of the Earth at regular intervals?
We cannot account for them.
One moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, someone has just passed Professor Pearson a message. While he reads it, let me remind you that we are speaking to you from the observatory in Wits University, where we are interviewing the renowned astronomer, Professor Pearson.
Could you just read this?
One moment, please.
Please read it.
Now.
Yes, now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I read from an email addressed to Professor Pearson from Dr. Lloyd Gray of the Durban Natural Science Museum. 8:15 p.m. Central African Time.
Seismograph.
Seismograph registered a shock of almost earthquake intensity occurring within a radius of 40 kilometers of Johannesburg. Please investigate. Signed, Dr. Lloyd Gray, Chief of Astronomical Division. Professor, now tell me, could these occurrences possibly have something to do with the disturbances observed on the planet Mars?
Hardly, Miss Mugala. This is probably a meteorite of unusual size, and its arrival at this particular time is merely a coincidence. However, we shall conduct a search as soon as the daylight permits.
Thank you, Professor. This is Precious Mugala reporting live from the observatory in Wits University. Back to studio.
Professor Morse from the University of Oxford reports observing a total of 3 explosions on the planet Mars between the hours of 6:45 p.m. and 7:20 p.m. Standard South African time. This confirms earlier reports received from American observatories. It had been reported that at 8:05 p.m. a huge flaming object believed to be a meteorite fell on a farm in the area of Mildersdrift, 40 kilometers outside Johannesburg. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of hundreds of kilometers, and the noise of the impact was heard as far south as Harrismith. We have dispatched a special mobile unit to Mildersdrift, where our field reporter, Zandile Mkhize, will give us an update.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Zandile Mkhize reporting live from the Van der Merwe farm in Mildersdrift, Krugersdorp. I hardly know where to begin to describe the strange scene before my eyes. It is like something from a modern science fiction movie. Here, man. Oh, the huge object lies half buried in a vast pit. It must have struck with terrific force. When I get it, the ground is covered with splinters from trees. It must have hit on its way down. What I can see of this, I could say getting object. No, man, it doesn't look much like a meteor. At least not the meteors that I have seen. Happy, this thing looks like a huge cylinder. It has a diameter of about 30 meters. The metal on the sheen is like nothing I've ever seen. And the color is sort of yellowish white. Curious spectators are now pressing close to the object in spite of the efforts of security to hold them back. They're getting in front of my line of vision. While the police are pushing the crowd back, here is Mr. Van der Merwe, owner of the farm. Mr. Van der Merwe, can you please tell our audiences as much as you remember of this rather unusual visitor that dropped in your backyard?
Well, I was listening to the radio here, and then I just saw...
Closer, please, and louder.
Oh, excuse, sorry. I was listening to the radio, y'all, and then this thing, it just...
Closer.
Oh, right. As I was saying, I was listening to the radio, y'all, and I was kind of off in the dop with my fella. Hey, Oaks, I'm on TV, hey.
Yes, Mr. Van der Merwe, then what happened?
Yo, so I was kind of half listening to that Professor Oak. He was speaking about Mars, yeah, Mars.
Yes, and then what?
Hey, yo, no, I was kind of half listening, yeah, because some of the words I couldn't, you know.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Van der Merwe, then you saw something.
Yeah, I heard something.
What did you hear?
It was the hissing sound, you know, like this New Year's Eve fireworks. Yeah.
Oh, and then what happened?
Yo, I was kicking out of my window there, and then I could have sworn I was in a nightmare. Yeah. I could have sworn, like right over there.
Yeah.
You see, it was this green strip.
Yeah.
It came, and then it went a turn, and it just went down, and then poof! That thing blossomed me out of my chair. Yeah.
So you were frightened, Mr. Van der Merwe.
I wouldn't say I was frightened. I was scocked.
Now back to the scribe.
If you thought I was having a scock, you should have seen my cow Betsy.
Okay,
She had a fright.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just heard Mr. Van der Merwe, owner of the farm where the object has just fallen. I wish I could convey to you the background, you know. The atmosphere of the scene is just so fantastic. Hundreds of cars are parked in the field at the back of us. The police are trying to rope off the roadway that is leading to the farm, but it's of no use. They are breaking right through. Cars' headlights throw an enormous spot on the pit where the object lies half buried. It seems some of the more daring souls are now venturing near the edge. Their silhouettes stand out against the metal sheen. One man wants to touch the thing. He is having an argument with the police officer. The police officer wins. But ladies and gentlemen, there is something I haven't mentioned in all of this excitement, but it is becoming more distinct. Perhaps you've already heard it, but just listen. Do you hear it? It is a curious humming sound that seems to come from inside the object. I don't even have the right words to explain, but here is renowned astronomer Richard Pearson. Professor, can you tell us the meaning of the humming noise from inside the object?
It is possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
Do you think it is a meteor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial, but not found on this Earth.
Yeah.
Friction with the Earth's atmosphere usually tears holes within a meteorite. This thing...
Something's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, this is incredible. The end of the object is beginning to flake off. The top is beginning to rotate like a screw.
Elements, get down!
This is the most terrifying thing that I have ever witnessed. Someone is coming out of the hollow top. Someone or something. I can see peering out two luminous discs. Are they eyes? Might be a face. Might be. Something is wriggling out of the shadow like a gray snake. There's one and another. They look like tentacles to me. There, I can see the thing's body. It is large as a bear, and it glistens like wet leather. The face is so indescribable, I can barely force myself to keep looking at it. The eyes are black and gleam like a serpent, the mouth V-shaped, its saliva dripping from its rimless lips that seem to quiver and pulsate. The crowds fall back now. The thing's raising up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most extraordinary experience. I can't even find the right words to explain.
We are bringing you a live broadcast of the unfolding events on the Van der Merwe farm in Muldersdrift, Krugersdorp. This is a historical moment. We have finally made contact. What? Aliens do exist. We now return you to Zandile Mkhize.
Ladies and gentlemen, more police forces have arrived on the scene. They are drawing up a cordon in front of the pit, about 1,000 of them. There's absolutely no need to push the crowd back now. They are more than willing to keep their distance. The captain is conferring with Professor Pearson. The professor moves from side to side studying the object, while the captain and a few policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It is a white handkerchief that is tied to a rifle, flag of peace. Now, if those creatures know what that means, what anything means, something's happening again. Ladies and gentlemen, a humped shape is beginning to rise up out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light from against the mirror. What is that? A jet of flame is springing from the mirror. It leaps at the advancing men and it strikes them head on. They are bursting into flame. Now the whole field has caught fire. The woods, the barns, the patrol tents of cars, it's everywhere. It's coming this way. About 100 meters to my right. I can see it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are unable to continue with our broadcast on the Van der Merwe farm. Evidently, we have some technical difficulties with the field transmission.
That's cold.
We will return you as soon as we rectify the error. In the meantime, we have a bulletin update. Professor Endel Koffer of the South African Astronomical Society expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars are undoubtedly nothing more than severe volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet.
Not just wounds, now Mom trusts Dettol for your skin too. The new skin-friendly Dettol Aloe Vera for bathing with the gentleness of aloe vera and the power of Dettol. It's gentle for everyday use and protects from 100 illness-causing germs. That's why moms want to be Dettol sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been told of news that came in from Muldersdrift via text. At least several hundred people, including 40 military troops and policemen, lie dead on a field in Muldersdrift. Their bodies burnt and distorted beyond all possible recognition. Here's Nosiviwe Mapisa Makula, Minister of Defense and Military Veterans.
I have been requested by President Ramaphosa to place Gauteng under the martial law and declare a national state of emergency. No one will be permitted to enter the province except by a special pass
You have just been listening to the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, commanding the state militia in Valhalla, Pretoria. In the meantime, more details of the catastrophe at Mildersdrift are coming in. The strange creatures, after unleashing their deadly assault, crawl back into the pit and have made no attempt to prevent the efforts of the firemen in the recovery of the bodies and extinguishing of the fires. Combined fire departments of Gauteng are fighting the flames which menace the entire countryside. We have been unable to establish any contact with our field unit at Mildersdrift, but we hope to be able to return you there as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness of the tragedy. Professor Pearson has been located at a farmhouse near Mildersdrift, where he has established an emergency observation point. Professor Pearson will give you his explanation of the calamity.
Of the creatures in the cylinder at Mildersdrift, I can give you no authoritative information, either as to their nature, their origin, or their purpose here on Earth. Of their destructive instrument, I might venture some conjectural explanation. For want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a plasma cannon. It is all too evident that these creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. It is my guess that in some way they are able to emit a laser beam into the air. The laser beam rapidly heats and ionizes surrounding gases to form a plasma. This plasma forms an electrically conductive plasma channel which they project in a parallel beam against any object they choose by means of a polished parabolic mirror of unknown composition, much as the mirror of a lighthouse projects a beam of light. That is my conjecture of the origin of the plasma cannon.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is a bulletin from Valhalla, Pretoria. A statement has been issued informing us that the charred body of Zandile Mkhize has been identified in a Johannesburg hospital. It has been reported that the fires in the Mildersdrift vicinity are now under control. We go live to a press conference with Public Protector Mrs. Busisiwe Mkwabane.
Hey! Ni right? Oh, get to me now. We have received your request. From the militia at Valhalla to place your disposal of the SABC. In view of the state of gravity and believing that media has a responsibility to serve its people at all times, we are turning over all broadcasting facilities at the state militia at Valhalla. This is Lieutenant Young of the Signal Corps. Attached to the state militia now engaged in the military forces in the vicinity of Mildersdrift. Situations arising from the reported presence of creatures of unidentified presence has been under complete control. The cylindrical object which lies in the pit directly below our position is surrounded on all sides by
Gentlemen, I have a brave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the evidence of our eyes and the observations of science lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings that landed in the farmlands tonight are the vanguard of the invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight has ended in the most startling defeats ever suffered by any army in modern times. 7,000 soldiers armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine from the invading planet. 120 known survivors, the rest strewn over the battle area from Milder's Drift to Sunset Mountains, crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, or burnt to cinders by its plasma cannon. The aliens are now in control of the middle section of Johannesburg and has effectively cut the province through its center. Communication lines are down from the Pretoria area to Nelspruit. Highways are torn and service from Johannesburg to O.R. Tambo International Airport discontinued, except routing some of the traffic from Allendale Road to East Rand. Highways to the north, south, and west are clogged with frantic human traffic. Police and army reserves are unable to control the mad flight. By morning, the fugitives will have swelled Rustenburg and Vereeniging. It is estimated to 4 times their normal population. At this time, martial law prevails throughout Gauteng. We take you now to the Union Buildings in Pretoria for a special broadcast of our national emergency. The President of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa.
Citizens of South Africa, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts the country, nor the concern of your government in protecting the lives and property of its people. However, I wish to impress upon you, private citizens and public officials, all of you, the urgent need of calm and resourceful action. Fortunately, this formidable enemy is still confined to a comparatively small area, and we may place our faith in the military forces to keep them there. In the meantime, placing our faith in God, we must continue the performance of our duties, each and every one of us, so that we may face this destructive adversary as a nation united, courageous, and concentrated to the protection of human supremacy on this earth. I thank you.
Bulletins too numerous to read are piling up in the studio here. We are informed that large portions of Johannesburg are blacked out from radio communications due to the effect of the plasma cannon on power lines and electrical equipment.
Emails received from English, French, and German scientific bodies offer assistance. Astronomers report continued gas outbursts at regular intervals on planet Mars. The majority have voiced their opinion that the enemy will be reinforced by additional rocket machines.
Attempts made to locate Professor Pearson of the Astronomical Society of South Africa, who has observed the Martians at close range, have failed. And it is feared that he is lost in recent battle.
Scouting planes from South African Air Force Base in Hoedspruit reports 3 Martian machines visible above treetops, moving north towards Messina, with the population fleeing ahead of them. While their plasma cannon is not in use, the invaders pick their way carefully. They seem to be making a conscious effort to avoid destruction of cities and townships. However, they stop to uproot power lines, bridges, and railroad tracks. Their apparent objective is to crush resistance, paralyze communication, and disorganize human society.
A bulletin from Krugersdorp, Gauteng, report rhino poachers have stumbled on a second cylinder, similar to the first, embedded 20 kilometers south of the Kruger National Park. Army field pieces are proceeding from Musina to blow up second invading unit before the cylinder can be opened and the fighting machine ring. They are taking up position in the foothills of the Saltpan Mountains.
Another bulletin from the South African Air Force Base, Hoedspruit, reports scouting planes have identified enemy machines, now 3 in number, increasing speed northward, kicking over houses and trees in their evident haste to form a conjunction with their allies south of the Kruger National Park. Machines also sighted by a farm worker east of Punda Maria, within 8 kilometers from the Kruger National Park.
A fleet of fighter jets carrying heavy explosives are flying north in pursuit of the enemy. Scouting planes act as guides. They are keeping the speeding enemy in sight.
We take you to the battery of the 22nd Field Artillery, located in the Saltpan Mountains.
Projection 32 meters. Projection 39 degrees. Fire! 140 meters to the right, sir. Shift range 31 meters. Projection 37 degrees. Fire! Hey, hit, sir. We got the tripod on one of them. They've stopped. The others are trying to repair it. Quick, shift range 30 meters. Projection 27 degrees. Fire! Can't see the shell line, sir. They're letting off a smoke. What is it? A black smoke, sir. Lying close to the ground. It's moving. Fast! Put on gas masks. Get ready to fire! Shift range 24 meters. Projection 24 degrees. Fire! They can't see, sir. The smoke's coming nearer. Yes, sir. 23 meters. Projection 32 degrees. 32 degrees.
Army fighter jet V8 for the field of Selmastown, Cape Town. Colonel Fabian Simon commanding 8 fighter jets, reporting to Colonel Avin Van Truan. Enemy tripod machines are now in sight, reinforced by 3 machines from the Bloemfontein cylinder, 6 all together. 1 machine already crippled, believed to be hit by shell from army gun in the Drakensberg Mountains. Guns now appear silent. A heavy dark fog hanging close to earth of extreme density. Nature unknown. No sign of plasma cannons. Enemy now turns east, crossing the Orange River towards the Tugela River. Evident objective is KwaZulu-Natal. They're now pushing down the high-tension power station. The machines are all together now, and we are ready to attack. Planes circling, ready to strike. 1,000 meters, and we'll be over the first 800 meters. 600 meters. 400 meters. 200 meters. There they go. A blue flash. They're flying as we flank. 2,000 feet. The engines are out. No time to release bombs. Only one thing left to do. Drop on them! Plane and all! We are diving on the first one! The engines are out! Ah!
This is Simonstown calling SAAF Hoedspruit. This is Simonstown, Cape Town calling SAAF Hoedspruit. Come in, please. This is SAAF Hoedspruit. Go ahead. 8 army bombers in engagement with enemy tripod machines all over Cape Town. Engines incapacitated by plasma cannon. All crashed. 1 enemy machine destroyed. Enemy now discharging heavy black smoke in direction of... This is Simonstown, Cape Town. This is Simonstown, Cape Town. Warning, poisonous black smoke moving in from Simonstown, reaching Cape Point. Gas mask useless. Urge population to move into open spaces. Moving traffic, use route M65 on the Cape Peninsula, M6 on Hope Bay, and the R44 from Gordons Bay to Somerset West. Avoid congested areas. The smoke is spreading massively.
2X2L calling HQ. 2X2L calling HQ. 2X2L calling 8X3R. How's reception? How's reception? 8X3R. What's the matter? Where are you?
I'm speaking from the roof of the convention center in Cape Town. The bells you hear are ringing to warn the people to evacuate the city as the Martians approach. Estimated in the last 2 hours, 3 million people have been moved along the roads to the north. Highway to Namibia still kept open for the motor traffic. Avoid breaches. They are hopelessly jammed. All communication with Bloemfontein closed 10 minutes ago. No more defenses. Our army wiped out. Artillery, Air Force, everything wiped out. This may be our last broadcast, but we'll stay here till the end. People are holding services below us in the cathedral. Now I look down the harbour. All manner of boats, overloaded with fleeing population, pulling out from the docks. Streets are all jammed. The enemy is now in sight above the harbour. 5 great machines. I can see it from here, wading the ocean like a man wading through a brook. Martian cylinders are falling all over the globe outside New York, London, Berlin. It seems to be timed and spaced. Now the first machine reaches the shore. He stands watching, looking over the city. His steel, cowlish head is even with the Table Mountain. He waits for others. They rise in a line of new mountains on the city's west side. Now they are lifting their metal hands. This is the end now. Smoke comes out, black smoke drifting over the city. People in the streets see it now. They are running away from it. They're running towards the oceans, thousands of them, dropping in like rats. The smoke is spreading past that reached Table Mountain. They're running away from it, but then there is no use. They're falling like flies. The smoke is crossing 6th Avenue, 5th Avenue, 100 yards away. It is 15 meters.
Isn't there anyone on the earth? Isn't there anyone on the earth? Isn't there anyone?
As I set down these notes on paper, I'm obsessed by the thought that I may be the last living man on Earth. All that has happened before the arrival of these monstrous creatures now seem part of another life. A life that has no continuity with the present furtive existence of a lonely derelict who pencils these words on the back of some astronomical notes bearing the signature of Richard Pearson. I look down in my blackened hands, my torn shoes, and my tattered clothes, and I try to connect them with a professor who lives in Johannesburg and who on the night of November 21st glimpsed through his telescope an orange splash of light from a distant planet. My colleagues, my students, my books, my observatory, my wife, my world. Where are they? Did they ever exist? And I, Richard Pearson, what day is it? Do days exist without calendars? Does time pass when there are no human hands left to wind the clocks? In writing down my daily life, I tell myself I shall preserve human history between the dark covers of these astronomical notes that were meant to record the movement of the stars. But to write, I must live. And to live, I must eat. At length, there's a hissing sound, and suddenly I see a Martian mounted on his machine, spraying the air with a jet of steam as if to dissipate life. I venture from the house. No traffic. Here and there, a wrecked car, a baggaged, overturned, a blackened skeleton. I push on north. For some reason, I feel safer trailing these monsters than running away from them. And I keep a careful watch. I've seen the aliens feed. Finally, I notice a small living creature, a meerkat. I stare at it and wonder. He stares back. I believe at this moment the animal and I share the same emotion, the joy of finding another living being.
Yeah, wena. Yes, you. Where did you come from?
I come from many places, long time ago, from Johannesburg.
Joburg, eh? Most that's near Mildersdrift, I get.
Yes.
Mildersdrift. Hey, Mildersdrift, my God. Boom! Nomzanege, listen, open your ears. This is my country. All this end of town, down to the highway. There's only food for one. Awushoke, tell me, which way are you going?
I guess I'm looking for people.
Shh. What was that? Did you hear something?
It's only a bird. A live bird.
You'll get to know that even birds have shadows these days.
Have you seen any aliens?
At night, the sky is alive with their lights, just as if people were living in it. But by daytime, you don't see them. Yazi, a couple of days ago, a couple of them carried something big across the land from the airport. Yazi, these tripod machines, they are learning how to fly.
Fly?
Yeah, bo, fly!
Then it really is over for humanity. Stranger, there's still you and I. There's still us left.
Hey, Yazi, they've wrecked the greatest country in the world. Those green stars, Yazi, they are falling somewhere every night. And they've only just lost one machine. We are done. Yazi, kashe, we are fucked, man.
Well, where were you? You're in a uniform.
Yeah, you. What's left of it? Yazi, I was in the army. Wasn't any war anymore. Then there's war between men and ants.
And we're eatable ants. I found that out. What will they do with us?
Wait, now, calm down. You see, right now, we are caught as we are wanted. You see, these aliens only have to go a few kilometers to get the crowd on the run. But they won't keep on doing that. They'll start catching us systematic, like storing the best and keeping us in cages and things. They haven't begun on us yet.
Not begun?
Not begun! All that has happened so far is because we do not have sense enough to keep quiet, bothering them with guns and such stuff, losing our heads and rushing off in crowds. Now, instead of rushing off blindly, we've got to fix ourselves up. Yeah, boo. Fix ourselves according to the way things are now. Cities, nations, civilization, progress, done.
But if that's so, what is there to live for?
Well, Nana, there won't be any more sokis for 1,000,000 years or so. And you see those little fancy restaurants where you go and have your fancy little food. You can forget it, Baba. If it's entertainment you're after.
Then what is left?
Life. That's what. I want Mina. Yes, Mina. I want to live. And so do you. We are not going to be exterminated. And I don't mean to be caught either. And bred, and fattened, and tamed like an ox.
So, what are you gonna do?
I'm going on. Right under their feet. I've got a plan. We men as men are done. We do not know enough. We've got to learn plenty before we've got a chance. And we've got to live and keep free while we learn. Yazi, it's not all of us that were made for wild beasts. And that's what it's got to be. That's why I watched you. I've seen all these little office workers. Hey, Yazi, they'd be no good, man. They haven't any stuff to them. The only thing they used to do is to rush up to work. Yes, I used to see them in the morning running by to catch their taxis in fear that they might get fired. In the evening, rushing back, my daughter. Hey, afraid that they might not make it in time for generations. White lives in short, and even less invested. And on Sundays, everybody worried about the hereafter. The aliens will be a godsend to those guys. Nice, roomy cages, eh? Good food, eh? Hey, when man, careful breeding. Eh? But after a week or so of chasing about the fields on empty stomachs, they'll come and be glad to be caught.
You thought it all out, haven't you?
You bet I have. You bet I have. These aliens will make pets of some of them, train them to do tricks. Who knows? Get sentimental over the pet boy who grew up and had to be killed. And some, maybe some, will train to hunt us.
No, that's impossible. No human would ever...
Yes, they will! Some men will do it gladly. And if one of them ever comes for me,
Well, in the meantime, you and I and others like us, where are we to live when the aliens own the Earth?
I told you to calm down, man. I've thought it all out. I've been thinking about the undergrounds. You know, the sewers. Johannesburg has kilometers and kilometers of those. And then we have cellars, vaults, underground storerooms, railway tunnels. You're beginning to see, Yangit. And then we'll get a bunch of strong men together. No weak ones. That rubbish out.
And you meant me to go?
Well, I gave you a chance, didn't I?
Let's agree to disagree.
And we've got to make safe places for us to stay in, Yazi. And we'll get books, all the books we can, science books. That's where men like you come in. We'll raid the museums. We'll even spy on the Martians. It may not have to be like so much we have to do before. Just imagine. Heat rays, right, left, and not a Martian in them, not an alien in them, but men who have learned the way how. It might even be in our time. Imagine having one of them lovely things with its plasma cannon, wide and free. We'd turn it on the aliens. We'd turn it on men. We'd have everybody on their knees.
So that's your plan?
You and me and a few more of us would own the world.
I see.
Say, what's the matter, Wena? Where are you going, man?
Not to your world.
I have a fail. Oh.
After parting with the soldier, I came at last to Waterfall Boven. My eyes were attracted to an immense flock of blackbirds that hovered directly below me. And there, before my eyes, stark and silent, lay the aliens with the hungry birds pecking and tearing brown shreds of flesh from their dead bodies. Later, when the bodies were examined in the laboratories, it was found that they were killed by the putrefactive and disease bacteria of which their systems were unprepared. Slain after all man's defenses had failed by the humblest thing that God in his wisdom put upon this earth, bacteria. Before the cylinder fell, there was a general persuasion that through all the deep of space, no life had existed beyond the petty surface of our minute sphere. Now we see further. Dim and wonderful is the vision that I have conjured up in my mind of life spreading slowly from this little pale blue dot in the solar system of the inanimate vastness of surreal space. But that is a remote dream. It may be that the destruction of the aliens is only a reprieve. To them, and not to us, is the future ordained, perhaps. Strange now seems to sit in my peaceful study at Fitz, writing down this last chapter of the record begun at a simple farm in Muldersdrift. Strange to see from my window the university spires dim and blue through a November haze. Strange to watch children playing in the streets. Strange to see young people strolling on the green with the news spills the last black scars of a bruised. Strange to watch the sightseers enter the museum where the assembled parts of an alien machine are kept on public view. Strange when I recall the time when I first saw something bright and clear-cut, hard concept under the domicile of the last great day. The last great day.
That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere. to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.
Where's Aldi?